And good evening to you all once again. Welcome to the Shadow Gallery. I am, as always, your host, James Donnelly. And when I check my watch, I see the time, and the time tells me it's time for new comics, bitches! So, I want to welcome all of my new subscribers, which are largely thanks to my good buddy Ghost Critic. And I do thank you, indeed. It's nice to have so many new subscribers. Of course, it doesn't hurt that your videos get like 400 hits and I get like, 30 at best. I think there's something with being... I think people just like to listen to you talk. No, I guess if I spoke in a British or Irish or Scottish accent, people might pay more attention to me, too. Makes me sexier. Or makes you sexy. Whatever. You know, I'm just fucking around anyway. So, anyway, for those of you who are new here, welcome. Glad to have you on board. And I hope that you'll not just be taking time to watch what I've created as far as the special project that I'm working on with other members of this great community, but also to, watch these videos too, in which I review current videos. Now, if it's your first time here, then you'll know that these are all going to be 15-minute installments, and they can go sometimes up to maybe an hour and 45 minutes altogether, and sometimes as short as an hour. It doesn't get too short for me. I like to go on for a long time. So, welcome aboard, and I hope you have fun. Anyway, so, ow, sorry, finger's still a little bit fucked up. Anywho, so let's get on with it, shall we? So, what did I pick up this week? Well, okay, so first of all, let's talk DC. So from DC this week, we got, first going to talk about Batman and Robin number 9. Again, this is easily my second favorite of the Bat family books. Peter Tomasi and Patrick Gleason have created something really special and unique with this book. It tells a very different tale, and it almost always defies expectations with every issue that I've seen of it so far. And this is just another one, because basically what we have here, of course, we're continuing the crossover of the Court of Owls, or the Night of the Owls crossover, as it's called. And what we have here is we have Damian Robin. He is basically working to save a major general within the National Guard, the Gotham National Guard, and it has surprising results, one might say. Now, what's so interesting about this issue, not just for the basically Damian taking charge of these older these older soldiers, but that he knows, and that he knows so much about, the art of war, having read, like, Clausewitz and stuff like that. But, just see him schooling them on, basically what they need to do to protect the Talon's target here is how they actually, that Tomasi actually takes the time to give this heretofore unseen character a backstory and why he's a target. Because we haven't really seen that in a lot of the other issues, because they seem to be going after... Well, there was obviously the huge kind of melee that happened within basically the B story in Batman number 8, where Alfred is putting out the call and they start to see people are just dropping like flies. And none of those people really have a backstory, and that's ultimately for the sake of the compression of the story. But what I liked here is that one of the many things I liked here was that they took the time to give this character that we've never seen before a backstory as to why the Talons want him dead. So it's very clever. I'm not getting all of the Bat Family books as far as all the crossovers. I don't get Birds of Prey. I don't get Red Hood. I don't get Nightwing, or I dropped Nightwing because I just don't like it anymore, and wasn't really sure I ever really liked it to begin with. I don't get Teen Titans, so I'm not going to know how those other things turn out. So, but I have this, and I'm glad to say that this is just a terrific issue. I missed Patrick Gleason's art in this issue, but the art was still very solid. The one thing that surprised me the most was how this didn't actually turn into an issue about Damian refusing to take the orders to save this other this other person. Because I thought at first, when the first couple pages, I felt like, okay, or actually the very first page, I felt like, okay, Damian's going to turn around, he's going to go try and help his father. And it led in a completely different direction, and it was great the way that it was handled. So the only reason that this is a 4.5 out of 5, easy. The only reason that it's not a 5 out of 5 is because I didn't really care for the art as much as I normally do, but still very, very solid issue overall. Just really good stuff. Batgirl, number 9. This was another really solid issue as well. I'm glad to see that Simone is starting to really amp up her telling of these stories. It started with issue 8, when we had the reveal that basically that James Jr. is out of Arkham, whatever, wherever he was, he's out now, and seems to be maybe wanting to date or do something else with Barbara's roommate, but Barbara has her hands full with other stuff. Because what we have here, it opens up with a little history lesson here from Nagasaki in 1944, where we have these young Japanese girls. They are making these. They call them fire balloons, and they're basically balloons that they. Now, whether or not this is a true story or not, I'm sure that it has some basis in fact, but it's basically they took these balloons, inflated them, and then released them over the Pacific Ocean to just kind of let them flow with the current, and then they would gradually lower down and actually strike the continental U.S. Now, according to this tale here, only one of them, only like 1 or 2 of them made it, but it did cause some casualties in a small town in Oregon. And that also leads us to the second part of this prelude, this prologue, if you will, where we have this great young aerialist from the Haley Circus that is being courted and chosen by a member of the Court of Owls to become a Talon. And this girl, she wears bandages on her face. She doesn't speak. She just basically just wears these bandages all the time, but she's apparently a superb athlete, and that's why they want her. And ultimately they take her and they turn her and they twist her, and she becomes a Talon, and it is this Talon, of course, that ends up facing Batgirl. And of course, Batgirl is seriously outmatched here, and when even the Talon has a drop on her, she doesn't follow through, which is very bizarre to Barbara. But we also have, this kind of this battle all over Gotham as these same said fire balloons start to rain upon Gotham City, and basically Commissioner Gordon is found by one of the members of the court. We don't see their face. We assume it's probably the same person that we see in the prelude in 1946, because if there's one thing about these people, apparently they don't really age, and which makes them, it makes the whole fairy tale of the owls much scarier. And because we don't know what they are, we just know that essentially cold is the only thing that can. Cold and massive tissue damage are the only things that can hurt them. And basically, Gordon is warned basically to not contact his daughter, not to, or else she's going to die. Making him believe that they have her under their control, but obviously they don't, because Batgirl is out on the streets, basically trying to take down this one female Talon, but she can't. There's only one option that's ultimately left to her. And it's something that's really not good for kind of the Bat image, if you will. But that's one of the things about the Talons that's interesting, is that they can kind of cut loose with these. They don't really have to worry about them because they're not alive anymore. They've been dead, for the most case, for quite a few years. So, but it had a... The art by Adrian CF is lovely, as per usual, and it tells a really compelling story from all different aspects. The only thing that ultimately just kind of disappointed me was that I wanted a little bit more to see more of what happened from the previous issue carry over here. But I appreciate also the fact that it is the Night of the Owls crossover, and that's what they really have to concentrate on. So I don't really have a problem with that overall. So still, really, really good stuff from Gail Simone, and 4.5 out of 5. Again, very solid for Batgirl number 9. Demon Knights number 9. Now basically we have our knights. They arrive at Alba Sarum, or however you want to pronounce that. Basically to two princesses, who are, one can only assume are in basically, a same-sex relationship. It doesn't say one way or the other, really, but that's kind of the assumption that's made, or at least presented. And they're also looking at the murdered body of Merlin. Now, obviously, this inflames the Shining Knight, but it leads them to a perhaps more important plot point, is ultimately the trials of this mission of this issue will be the knights going to Avalon, which is of course the fabled place of the dead of Camelot, basically where King Arthur's body is, and apparently where Merlin's soul has traveled to, because they discovered that while his body is dead, his consciousness is still somewhere alive. And so Madame Xanadu, of course, has a plan, well, sort of a plan, to get to Avalon, get Merlin, and get him out. Now, of course, there's still, kind of a consistent infighting between the team, especially between Vandal Savage and, well, pretty much the rest of the team, especially Al Jabbar. The characters that are getting more fleshed out, like Exoristos and the Horsewoman, it's really interesting to see these characters, and of course Al Jabbar, but to see these medieval versions of Etrigan and Vandal Savage and Madame Xanadu and of course Shining Knight. It's just, it's increasingly interesting and fascinating. Paul Cornell is just doing a killer job on this title. Of course, Diogenes Neves is doing a great job on the art. And I also like the fact that they actually bring in Lucifer to this issue. Basically, Etrigan is back down in hell, and it looks like he's double dealing against his own teammates. Whether or not that will actually be the case, that is, because we don't know what the end game is here for Etrigan yet, and that's what's so interesting and telling about this title. Again, this still kind of, sort of filling the void that Secret Six left behind, because I'm loving what Cornell is doing with this title. Not quite there. It's not as solid. I mean, it's a really good issue though. 4 out of 5, very solid again for Demon Knights number 9. So we'll be back in just a few moments, and we'll talk more comics. Okay, so stick around.